what you really want is a transformation, we need to do that over time, and that is why the program is a 6-month minimum, because these things don't happen in 6 weeks. Simple and easy are not the same. Welcome back to the priority report. Today we are talking about that feeling that you get when you are either coming back from a long vacation, or perhaps it's just a case of the Mondays, but that feeling of being behind. So where that comes from and why we feel that way, and what it is that you can do to combat finding yourself in the endless loop that is always feeling like you are running late for everything, literally and figuratively. But first, let's get into this week's priority reports. Things that are priority for me. Well, shameless plug here. It is getting to be the end of the year, and I know I'm preaching exactly what I preached last year, because I preach it every year. But if you're expecting to make a giant overhaul of your life and have all of your New Year's resolutions fall into place, and do a fancy, fabulous makeover for yourself of how your life is currently operating, we need to start planning that now. So I recognize that you're probably in the throes of the holiday season and totally unprepared to be thinking about next year, much less you're grinding right now. You're grinding to make sure you've got all of the plans for everybody to be showing up at your doorstep if you're hosting, or where it is that you're going and what it is you need to bring and all the logistics if you're traveling. And you're worried about presents and who's gonna say what at dinner and blah blah blah. It's the holidays. It's the holidays. Let's just call it what it is. It's the most stressful time of the year, even though it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year. I find that piece of it all very ironic. But that is why now is the perfect time for you to be thinking about joining the empowerment method. I only have a very limited number of seats because it is a high touch, one-to-one, customized, personalized mentorship program that is built for exactly that, is taking care of all of your New Year, New You resolution types of activities. We are here working with each other on a weekly basis. You have course materials and so forth to really get down to the nitty-gritty. When we work together, it is a 6-month minimum program. It is meant to help you really get a baseline for what is foundationally important to you, who you fundamentally are in your identity as a human being, and really ground yourself in what it is that is important for your life moving forward, so that as you start envisioning what it is that you want for the future, we have a strong comparison to make between future state and current state today. And then we look at that gap analysis and we make a roadmap for how it is you're going to get to where it is that you would like to go. And as you are going to hear about today, all of that really breaks down to your habits, your routines, and your systems. And how we live in our habits, our routines, and our systems really determines how we feel in the day-to-day and how we feel life is going at large. So when we start taking a look at where do we want to be in the future and how do we want to improve our lives, we really have to start at the most basic rudimentary behaviors that we continue to exhibit and the narratives that are attached to those behaviors. So the New Year's resolution always has this way of creeping up onto us that we're just gonna flip a switch and change all the things all at once. I really do not, I'm not a proponent of that. I really do not support that idea. I don't think that it is long-term sustainable. And if what you really want is a transformation, we need to do that over time. And that is why the program is a 6-month minimum, because these things don't happen in 6 weeks, as you, I'm sure, have tried before. Even something as per se simple as like joining a gym and like getting into the swing of going and working out on a regular basis, or something that is adjacent to that, can be a very hard thing to keep up, no matter how simple the task is. Simple and easy are not the same thing. So, so that is very high on my radar. I would love to have you. I would love for you to DM me or send me an email, or go through the application process online. Like I said, I only have a very small number of seats, but I do want you to have one of them. And it is the heart and soul, bread and butter of what it is that I do. I really love personal change management. You know, that is my jam if you have been following me. And so bringing you into a better place and helping you to help yourself on making the changes and building the efficacy to continue on that path forward is the delight that I would love to work with you on in 2026. So be sure to look that up and get that in as soon as possible. Meanwhile, things going on in my life. So I've been keeping you abreast of everything going on with my gym routine. I am currently in a cut phase. So I know I've explained this a little bit in passing. Building and cutting is part of bodybuilding. It is really, the idea is that you are building muscle. And so in order to build muscle, you have to be eating more than you burn. And so we put on muscle, and we in turn also put on fat with that muscle, because we're eating outside of our calorie range. And then when we go to cut, we are very consciously and intentionally structuring our exercises to preserve the muscle that we have gained, while cutting the fat by being in that caloric deficit. So it's a mini cut for me. I am not planning on a show anytime soon, but it is part of the cycle that is really important. And I wanted to do one before getting too close to the holiday season, where I want to eat all of the yummy things, because I'm the one who loves to cook. So so it's an 8-week regimen. I am in, give or take, like week 3. So my calories were just decreased this past week, and so far so good. So far so good. Part of my habits and routines and systems is always making sure that I have notifications set up to remind me to eat at specific times of the day. I try and do all my meal planning in advance. That way my protein is spread out throughout the course of the day, which is better for digestion, it's better for sleep, and it's really better for your body for being able to actually consume and use that protein effectively to help build and sustain the muscle that I have. So I have been in the throes of that. I'm really excited to be working with my new coach, Claire. She's fabulous. The team that I work with, that is the coaching program that I use, is called Flex Method. They are based out of the Gold Coast in Australia. She's been so communicative and amazing, and just very highly detail oriented. And so that has just been such a seamless transition. And I'm so excited to just be in this new, I'll have this program for about six-ish weeks. It's going to be high volume, which is hypertrophy focused. She puts in a lot of supersets. So far I'm very much enjoying it. And that is very top of mind for me. So in terms of my priorities, Sleep, as you know, is always a priority for me. Rest, recovery is always something that I am touting, regardless of whether that is with you or it's in my own regimen. I think that like our sleep is so clutch to us being able to like function as human beings when we're awake. And so I cannot stress enough, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in the episode, the importance of making sure that that is a priority all the time. Areas of improvement that I could work on, as always, I feel like I say this every week, is making sure that I'm getting more water. Water's so boring. It's so boring, but it is a lifeline. So hydrated does keep the face and skin pretty. So need to do a bit more of focused efforts in that direction. The other thing that I will say that's more of like a giant win is I've really doubled down on my morning routines in particular. So if I am not at the gym, so say it's like Wednesday or it's the weekend, because those are my days off, I am making sure that I'm still getting up fairly early. I get to sleep in a little bit, but fairly early, so that I can get my meditation and my journaling and my coffee in before I have to run around with the little garfster all over town, walking him 10,000 miles, as you know how it goes. So yeah, exciting times. For those of you who are local, I am proud to announce, this is now, by the time you're watching this episode, it will have been out for a while, but you can go find it. I am being featured in the YMCA September 2025 issue. So that is really exciting to just have the business highlighted, to have my story highlighted. So thank you so much to Eleanor Rixey for being the journalist on that piece. I'm just delighted. I'm absolutely delighted to be a part of that community. Has been just so important for me in making this transition to a new town. Being able to continue my fitness and health journey that that even this business is a part of, and continue to live in integrity with my values and help you all do the same. So without further ado, let's chat a little bit about feeling behind. So there are two things that come to mind with this for me that I'm going to kind of break them into two categories. So this came out of several conversations that I have had with friends lately who are always saying like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. I can't get this done or that done, or I'm late on blah, blah, blah. And it's this like level of self-inflicted stress that, you know, like one girlfriend of mine, we were chatting and she was saying how she was so far behind. And I was like, okay, so like, are you really behind? Or is it just that you took the weekend to actually enjoy your birthday and spend time with your family and kids and not thinking about work and not being stressed out, and you're feeling behind because you didn't you didn't struggle with productivity for 3 days, and now you're coming back and you are having these FOMO moments of like, did I miss something? Did I forget something? I'm not doing enough. OMG. And not actually, you're not actually behind. Like nobody is calling you being like, there's a deadline, people are gonna die, like you've got to get this thing into us. How dare you be late on it, blah. Is not actually happening. Like that's not really a thing. That's not happening. It's not happening also because like first world problems, like this is not very rarely am I talking to someone having this conversation where their job actually is life and death oriented in any way, shape, or form. When you work a white collar office job, like it's never life and death, y'all. Like I used to say when I worked at Kohl's, like it's just sweaters. It's just sweaters. We're just selling purple sweaters to middle class Midwesterners. Like it's fine. Everyone is fine. the world is fine. It's going to be okay. Like, let's just put everything into perspective. There are actual real problems, and this isn't one of them. But our second case is that you actually are behind. And then the question becomes, why are you behind? And if you're behind, is it really that is it that you took on too much? Because I often see that people that consider themselves or are in fact somehow late on deadlines and things have taken on way more than they have the capacity for. Either they have estimated their time incorrectly, or they just said yes to everything, or they didn't even think about they didn't get what the competing priorities were, so that they could be like, cool, you've asked me to do 17 things, I can give you 3. Which 3 would you like? And those are really important skills to have, because when we just take on and take on and take on and take on, whether somebody's asking us or not, we're not clear on our expectations. Being and feeling behind have everything to do with not having reasonable expectations, whether that's of ourselves or that's other people putting expectations on us. We need to get much, much clearer about what that exchange is, because I find that if you're running behind, and you tell somebody hey, this is gonna be later than you said that you wanted it, here is when I can get it to you, you are resetting an expectation. People are willing to adjust. It's when they don't know, it's when we're operating from uncertainty that we start seeing issues occur, because then it makes other people worry. They feel like they don't have answers. They don't know when something's coming. We've talked about this before. Uncertainty is the unraveling of all of the things for most humans most of the time. So if we can minimize that based on what it is that we actually have control over for ourselves and for other people, things move a lot more smooth sailing. So those are our 2 primary sources of feeling behind. Either we're feeling it because we have self-inflicted a narrative about it, or we're feeling it because we actually are behind because we didn't manage our resources effectively. Okay? So feeling behind is not a great feeling. It's, to describe it, although I'm sure you can all relate, it's anxiety, it's overwhelm, it's negative anticipation, it's disorganization, it's discombobulation, and all of this is avoidable if we plan effectively. So what we need to do is really be thinking about if I take a step back here for a second, feeling behind, let's just think about that phrase unto itself. Feeling behind is negatively directional. But the truth is that if you're feeling behind, you don't have a sense of where your time is going. But it's clearly not going to the thing that you had allocated the time for. So we need to be cognizant of what's the reality of competing priorities, or what's the reality of the uncertainty that is causing us to not feel like we know where we are, the direction that we're moving in is backwards. I think we can all agree that time, well, let's not say that we can all agree on this, but time as a construct, we could break down and say a lot of things about, but time as we perceive it is, or that we conceptualize it with other human beings, is linear, and it moves in one direction. Okay, we don't get to relive yesterday. Okay, so to think that we are behind is sort of this funny thing, as if there's stuff happening out in the future that we have to catch up to. That's not a thing. Or that we're living in the past. That's not a thing. So so it's important that we start looking at likely more or less one of these particular things are happening. So I'm going to list them for you. Either you haven't planned how to use your time effectively, entirely possible. You've estimated incorrectly about how long something is going to take you to do. You've committed to more than was realistic without asking for priorities, or setting those priorities for yourself, quite frankly, because those of us who work for ourselves are generally the ones setting timelines. And you did not keep to your intentions about what you were going to set out to do with your time, all of which causes us to have some problems. So all of these things, all four of these things, are behavioral loops that we need to close in order to start to get rid of these negative feelings of being behind. Now, I'm going to caveat that we could take this conversation in a totally different direction if we wanted to, and talk about the emotional root cause of feeling behind is the never enough story, right? We're constantly proving, we're constantly people pleasing, that the feeling behind is a condition of our productivity, is a condition of productivity, I should say. We, in our capitalistic society, value people getting shit done. And so when we're always focused on getting things done and feeling productive, and then we create these massive to-do lists that are likely unachievable for the amount of time that we have, or the amount of time that we expect those tasks to get done, that's where the feeling behind comes in. Or in the case of working for somebody and you're having these feelings of feeling behind, or coming off of a vacation or whatever the case may be, the people pleasing comes into play again. So feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind and somebody's going to ask me for something, or somebody knows something that I don't know, and then they're going to need something and I wasn't here for it, and then and we start on this long-winded diatribe about how we have to go and like find all the pieces and have a FOMO moment, and then can like pull it all back together. And like, I hate to say it because no one wants to hear it, but like, I think we all know at this point, especially in this economy, that like companies will continue to do what companies do with or without you. So not to overstate our own individual obsolescence in some respects, but that added pressure to people please, I think, is an unfair thing that we do ourselves. And how we address that is often not accessible if we aren't first addressing our behavioral patterns. So there's understanding and recognizing that we have these patterns, and that's sort of what I would call step one. Is like, you have to be able to pull yourself out of the throes and recognize what it is that you're feeling and why it is that you're feeling it, and whether or not it's actually a thing or it's something that you have made up inside your own head, before we can really move forward with figuring out like, how do we break down that narrative and change our thought process. Our thought process will change as our behavior changes, because our behavior will reinforce new outcomes, presumably positive ones if we're moving our habits in the correct direction, that then changes to not be so reliant on those unhealthy narratives. So I have three, I can't count. I have 5 steps that I suggest for you to take if you are finding yourself having this type of conversation with yourself, okay? So I would first start by conducting an audit. And what I mean by that is, what are the things that you are doing that are leading up to you feeling like you are behind? What are the routines? What are the habits? What's happening in your life that then causes you to feel behind. So like I gave the example of a friend of mine who was saying like, oh my God, I had such a great time for my birthday and I wasn't thinking about work. And then all of a sudden that would be an example of like, okay, so this is an internal dialogue that you're having. But what could you have done to help if you knew that that was the outcome that you were going to come to because this has happened on a consistent basis? What could you have done the week prior to ease yourself from having that feeling coming back on that Monday? Would it be to have reassurance from your colleagues that everything is covered? Would it be to make yourself a to-do list so you know what you're walking into the next Monday? Would it be making sure that you had at least the primary things that you needed to wrapped up, or you'd finished your commitments for the week prior before leaving the office? What could you have done differently? And in doing so, you're also asking yourself the what I would call the reverse engineer question, which is, what does prepared look like? In the perfect scenario, instead of having this internal narrative that you are behind, what if your internal narrative was, oh my God, I'm walking into this week and it's going to be phenomenal because I'm so on point. I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly what I've got coming up. I'm fully prepared to take on the day. What would get you to that feeling? That would be another way to ask the same question. So we want to figure out how do we bookend this idea of what feeling behind could be. Could we prepare the week prior so that we have mitigated the risk of us feeling this way on Monday? And also, could we look at what does good look like so that I've done the things to set myself up so that I'm telling myself the story that I'm going to feel prepared on Monday, and we're telling ourselves that story starting the week prior. Does that make sense? So that would be what I would ask first and foremost. The second thing that's sort of a piggyback off of that, and I was talking a little bit about this at the beginning, is take a look at what your morning and your evening routines look like. I have a lot of people say to me I don't follow a routine. I don't want to be caged into a routine. I hate structure. No, girl. No, sir, no. You are a human being, and human beings are very, very, very habitual. You are not that unique in the human species that you are somehow exempt from that. But you probably aren't self-aware of what those habits and routines and systems are. So and I recommend always is sit down and write it out. It's not gonna hurt you. You can pick up a pen. You're still capable. You're still in the 21st century. People are still using these little things. So pen and paper, write it down. What is it that you actually are doing on the day-to-day that says okay, here is the system or the set of things that occur in the evening that then set me up for the next day. And I think that's really important because especially if you have kids or whatever the case may be, you need to have contingency planning for poor sleep. So making sure that you have a structured bedtime routine, not just for you, but also for your kids, it's a type of self and family regulation that puts everybody on the same cycle. So it doesn't mean you're all going to have the exact same circadian rhythm, but y'all need to be in some kind of rhythmic flux together. And when we're going to bed at different times of the day and we're getting different amounts of sleep on an inconsistent basis, and we're eating at different times, and all these variables and levers are being pulled all at the same time, that level of inconsistency creates a higher level of chaos that while you might just be like in it, living the logistics of it, takes an energetic toll. It's very helpful, just like we were talking about that if you want to watch like a downward spiral happen to any particular person, like throw uncertainty into the mix. If you don't know what you're having for dinner, think about how like big of a wrench that throws in your evening. Like, do you need to cook? Do you need to go to the grocery store? Are you gonna pick up food? If you're picking up food, what kind of food are you picking up? What are you making? If you're making stuff at home, like if you're somebody like me, you're like, does this even fit into my calorie budget? Like, it becomes chaos so fast over one meal. And like, especially if you have kids or a spouse or whatever, and you don't have like a planned dinner time, like if it's every man for himself, you've got chaos for every person in your household. That's not a great way to live. Like, it creates, it's a restlessness. It is, it's unstructured. It puts people like at disease. You've got mood swings up the wazoo from that. It's not great. Okay. So when you look at what your evening routine entails, like there are things that let me break it down even further. There are things that we all do. We all have to sleep. We all have to eat. Presumably we all should shower. It's highly recommended. Like however you want to bathe is of your own choosing, right? Like no one's prescribing that, but like being clean is kind of like something you should probably be doing on the regular, I hope, for everyone's sake. So like there are certain things that we're always tasked with. You probably go to work Monday through Friday or some variation of that depending on whatever kind of schedule your work has, but it has a schedule and it has a somewhat consistent schedule. They don't just like call you at random. Your kids go to school for certain hours. They have certain extracurriculars. Like there is a level of habituation that happens, whether it is at a daily level or it's at a weekly level or it's at a seasonal level. So figure out what those are first and then break that down and how that impacts the way that your day-to-day is structured. I always recommend, I was just talking with a client about this a couple weeks ago, is like if you're having an issue during your work day. So in the instance that I'm thinking of right now, they are struggling with the time boxing, time management of their business during the day. And so I like the idea of being able to look backwards and re-engineer. So reverse engineer. So what was happening? What were the variables that they used to calculate how much time they would have? Like where was the unrealistic expectation in there? So that they can say, okay, here are the guardrails I'm going to create for myself within my business to better estimate how long a project is going to take. Can you create a standardized scope of work for standardized types of work? Okay, that might be one thing. So I need to complete this particular project because it's this type of project within this specific amount of time, and I have enough buffer built in there so that when they look at how they want to plan out their work week, they can put those time blocks in accordingly, and they know how much capacity they have for taking on new work. If it's not standardized work and they're doing something custom or something that's a new client or whatever the case may be, then how can they build in a business system that helps them in accurately estimating how much time new project is going to require, and working up front with establishing the expectations around deadlines and then planning that out on their calendar. To work farther back is to say, okay, if your hours of work are being impacted by your health, is your health being impacted by a lack of sleep? Are you getting the hours that you need? If not, then like, what do we need to do about that bedtime? If you're going to bed too late and then you're trying to get up early, like if you're working late and then thinking that you're going to like sleep for a couple hours and get up and do the same amount of work, It's not going to happen. You don't function the same on 2.5 hours of sleep that you do when you are fully rested. So even if you do decide to do that to yourself, the level of competency, accuracy, the quality at which you can function is going to be less because you haven't given yourself that restorative period. So how do you change the evening routine to then improve the following day? This is a theme that we're talking about today. If you can't tell, I feel like I'm just reiterating the same thing like 7 different ways. Once you've established what your evening routine is doing to set you up for success the following day, now you can start to look at what that morning routine is. Okay, I do it in that order because your evening routine could be like, I'm gonna set out my outfit for tomorrow. And that way it's already done and ready to go in your morning routine. So like your morning routine could be exponentially simpler if you have done the work of preparing yourself the night before in your evening routine. So that's what I always recommend to people. If you are able to do that and create that efficiency in the morning, because not everybody is a morning person, it also eliminates a lot of decision fatigue early on in the day, which helps you function better later in the day when more has happened and it takes more capacity to get things done. Okay? So I would suggest looking at that. Other things that you can take into consideration as you're thinking about what your routines are is like, what's your blue light usage before bed? If you're struggling to fall asleep, that's a possibility. When did you stop eating? Because if you're eating too close to bedtime, your temperature is going to rise, your body temperature is going to rise, and that can keep you up at night. Are you going to bed hydrated? Also, highly recommend that you make sure that you have had enough water, not too much water, but enough water before bedtime. It's always great to have like a nice self-care routine, whether that's like reading a book or journaling or something that just starts to ease you into preparing for bed, taking a moment for yourself after you've just expended all of your energy on everybody else for the day. I think all of those things are super, super important as well. All right, so that's sort of, I kind of wrapped 2 and 1 in together. So to just be clear about what 1 and 2 are, we started off with, you're gonna take an audit. All right, so initial step 1, you're taking an audit. WTF are you doing with your time before and after your workday? That is causing you to be prepared or not be prepared for the following day. Or same can be true of before and after a vacation. Same can be true of before and after a weekend. What are you doing to set yourself up to feel prepared versus knowing that you're just going to walk in and feel behind? All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 is reverse engineer your current routine to identify the bottlenecks. So start looking backwards. What's that evening routine look like? And then work your way forwards into what does the morning routine look like and how is that impacting your work day? Even if it's a weekend, start looking at like, how do you structure your weekends? If you can consolidate and plan for the times that you are busy doing chores, doing meal prep, doing whatever it is else that you need to get done that happens on days that you don't work, you can have greater time boxes for the quality time you want to spend with your friends, with your family, the spontaneous things you hadn't planned for, being outside, whatever the case may be. But you can have a much easier time doing that if you aren't constantly like in the throes of doing laundry or like running out of dishes or like the house is a mess and the kids have toys everywhere and whatever the case may be. Like get those things boxed up in time slots so that everything has a place and a space. So I like to give the example of like, I have on my calendar to do a recycling run at 9:30 on Saturday morning. It can happen at other times, but I know that I have it scheduled to do on Saturday. So even if I don't make it there by 9:30, it's on my list of like, but before I get to go and do the fun stuff that I have planned for the afternoon, recycling's got to go. And it keeps me from worrying on a Wednesday when my recycling is going to get emptied because I already have it on schedule to do it on Saturday. Ding, 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 ding. So I would recommend that you also build that in. The next piece of that is keep it simple. Keep it simple. Please do not over engineer your routines, whether it's your morning routine, your evening routine. Nobody wants to do a 16-step skincare routine, Mary Kay. No one wants to do that. No one wants to do that. No one. Okay? So like don't make the mistake of doing that to yourself with your morning, evening, or work routines. Like if you're gonna overcomplicate it and over engineer it, like it's like the tool becomes the problem unto itself. And then you never actually do the thing that the tool is meant to be used for. Like we can't get hyper fixated on like planning and then we get so hyper fixated on the doing of the planning that we never do the doing. Like that's a problem. So keep it simple. Like when we start new habits, you need to choose like one. Literally just choose one. I don't care what it is. I do not care what it is. Like it could be, let me give you like an example of something that's like really simple that I've been doing for years. When you finish a meal, just put the dirty dishes into the dishwasher. The end. Like you can worry about when the dishwasher is going to get run, or you can worry about like putting the dishes away later. But like if you're still having the trouble of like you eat a meal and then the dishes just get stacked up and they never even make it into the dish, like step one, things happen in a certain order. You don't have a dirty dish until you've used it. When do you use it? When you eat. So when you eat, use the dish and then put it into the dishwasher. And that's where you start. So pick something as your starting point that is attached to an activity that you're already doing. Okay? So like if you need to take medicine at night or something and you have to try and remember to do that every night, do you do that like right after you brush your teeth? Or do you brush your teeth right after you take your medicine? Or like what's the order of operations? If we're trying to cut down on our screen time, okay, so I put my phone next to the bed on the charger and then I brush my teeth. Like whatever it is that is going to get you to do the next activity, like that's where it should fit into the schedule. And then you focus on making that a habit until you don't even have to think about it anymore because that's just the way you do things. If that becomes easy over time, or easier over time, then you can start to add other things to it. Once you have built up, now by easy, here's what I mean by easy. Like it needs to be, what do I want to say? It needs to be something that you feel confident you can do on a regular basis and not lose momentum on. Like we end up out of routine when we go on vacation or whatever. It should be a natural consequence that when you come back and you restart your routine, that this is already part of the routine. Like that's how you know, is just like, this is the order of operations. This is part of the operations. I'm not thinking twice about the fact that this is part of the operation. We just do it. Simple as that. Okay. Which actually takes me into point number 4. Your fourth step is the 80-20 rule. Okay, if you're not familiar with this rule, it is we're 80% consistent and 20% we have more flex. Okay, so you want to make sure that as you're building a habit, you are building up the consistency. It's like building a muscle. Like you have to exercise the doing of the thing a lot. Over and over and over and over again to build up the stamina and the endurance that it just becomes part of who you are and what you do. Okay? So we want to make sure that 80-20 is sort of our balance, because that 20% is the times that we're on vacation, or that we have family in town, or that some other event is happening that throws us off from what we would normally be doing. Like if you go out for an evening and it's, a spontaneous party night, whatever, like those don't happen I hope they don't happen for you all of the time. But we have these things that throw us out of the way that we typically operate. And we should be able to bounce back from that and get right back into routine. When we stray so far away from routine for longer periods of time, it becomes so much harder to get back to it. It's like being out of the gym for months. If you miss a week or two, like, it sucks, but like you can get back at it. And it's not that bad, right? Like you get sick, you can't go to the gym, like it blows. But like the world isn't ending over. It's not like you're starting over. When you have to, when you've been gone for 6 months or whatever the case may be, maybe it's years, it becomes so much harder to get ourselves to do the thing that we used to do. So we don't want to fall farther than the 80-20 rule. I don't measure that. That's a gut check type of thing. Like, use your judgment. You should be able to kind of like feel that intuitively as to where that 80-20 sits. And really, you won't have to think about it a lot when your focus and intention is structured around consistency. Because consistency is going to be your default. Consistency is going to be your 80%. Okay? And number 5, which I think is actually one of the most important of them, is look for the evidence of progress. Look for the green lights. Look for the evidence that you are making improvements in the direction that you want to go. Assess what's working and what's not working. But definitely look for the things that are working, because you can do more of that or find more ways to apply them. Like you want to build up a level of self-trust and self-confidence that you can be disciplined, that you can have a regimen, that you can act in your own best interest, and that you feel when you've done that for yourself. And it should be applauded, that you should celebrate that. You have control over your own life. Like, that's a great feeling. Like, free will is an amazing feeling, and we're not at the mercy of our circumstances. So it's really important, if we want to feel like we are in control of our lives, that we look for evidence that we are capable of changing it. So when you start making changes, start looking for the ways that it is creating a positive impact, that is residually like reverberating out, that you've got the ripple effect going. And like, how does it impact other people? How does it impact the relationships you have with other people? These are all things that are super important to be looking for as a way of positive reinforcement. My final note to you on that will be, and then we'll wrap up for today, is that when we look for positive reinforcement, that is our personal accountability. That is our radical responsibility. So it's when we start looking for people pleasing ourselves, if you will. If I'm trying to put a healthy spin on the word people pleasing, when you're looking for evidence that you can make a positive impact on your own life, that's personal accountability. That says oh, look, I'm living in alignment with the things that I believe. I'm honoring my values. I'm honoring the person that I am and the way in which I want to live. I'm going to do more of that. That's super important, because you cannot people please other people and get that same response. If you want that feel-good feeling, you need to look to you for that. Okay, and that's what I'm here for as your mentor, is to help point those things out to you. I can't hold you accountable and think that that's going to be effective. I'm not here to dangle a carrot and a stick for you. But I am here to help you look for the green lights, to help you look at the positive things that you are doing, to help you set yourself up for success and hold yourself to task on doing the things that you said you were going to do for yourself, because it makes you feel better, because it gets you the change that you're looking for. You are the one who gets to do the thing. And that is a beautiful and amazing accomplishment. So I'm going to wrap up for today, but loved this episode. Hope you did too. Love this topic. So excited to continue elaborating on similar things. Like I prefaced in the beginning, please reach out about the empowerment method. I am here to help you with your habits, routines, and systems, and getting that to a place where you can self-manage those things in a very at a very high level of activity and proactivity. So I look forward to speaking with you more about that, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Ciao!